a forum at Nairobi Lyco Regency Hotel and is giving an update on Kenya's nuclear power plans. Kenya requires more than 16,000 megawatts of electricity by 2030. Let's take a listen.
On the safety of nuclear power plants, from the onset, there has been a strong awareness of the potential hazard of both nuclear meltdown and the release of radioactive materials from generating electricity with nuclear power. As in other industries, the design and operation of nuclear power plants aims to minimize the likelihood of accidents and to avoid major human and environmental consequences when such accidents do occur. There have been 3 significant accidents in the last 50 or so years, about 60 years, in the history of civil nuclear power generation. The 3 are the 3 Mile Islands, popularly known as TMI. There is the Chernobyl of 1986, and of course the latest one is the Fukushima, which was in 2011. Of course, the 3 Mile Island, most of the radiation and radioactive materials were contained, and there were no health or environmental consequences. In the 1986 Chernobyl, you can remember about around 31 people were killed, and significant health and environmental releases were gotten from the Chernobyl. And these effects sometimes found their way back into our country and in so many other countries, and that is why we have to be vigilant, not to allow maybe commodities and so many other things from getting to our consumers. Of course, from the Chernobyl, the death toll has since risen, not significantly, but of course, a life is a life. For the Fukushima, which was due to a huge tsunami, you remember 3 nuclear reactors were written off, and there were no deaths immediately or serious injuries due to radioactivity, though about over 50,000 people were killed by the tsunami, but not by the nuclear reactor. The nuclear power plant operating experience of over 6 decades shows that nuclear power is a safe means of generating stable, reliable, and clean electricity. Further, the risk of accidents in nuclear power is low and declining, with feedback of lessons learned being fed back into reactor design. That means those accidents, when we reassess and look at the lessons we can learn and get this feedback back into the reactor design, these accidents will keep on declining and declining. And of course, should they occur, the consequences will be minimal. The consequences of an accident or a terrorist attack are minimal compared with other commonly accepted risks and radiological effects on people of radioactive releases from nuclear power plants in case of an incident or an accident can be avoided, especially through safety systems, through safety measures such as containment. In the context, in relation to the use of nuclear power, safety is usually closely related to 2 issues: security and safeguards. So we have the 3 S's: safety, security, safeguards. For the safety, usually these are usually the intended conditions in the operation of nuclear power plants that may lead to release of radioactive materials from a nuclear power plant. For security, this is a focus on the intentional misuse of nuclear or other radioactive materials by non-state actors, read terrorists, to cause harm and to cause panic. It relates mainly to external threats, to materials or to facilities such as those. And this again, safety, security, and safeguards. Safeguards usually focuses on restraining mainly states from activities that could lead to acquisition or development, read the proliferation of nuclear weapons. We have a safeguards regime whereby we declare nuclear material atom by atom. That means you have to account for nuclear material atom by atom. If you are given 10 grams of nuclear material, then at the end of the day or within 3 months, or depending on the period which the nuclear safeguards regime declares, you have to declare what you have used to make that nuclear material. So this regime is usually to ensure that nuclear material is not diverted for non-peaceful purposes, which is mainly the development and proliferation of nuclear weapons. Again, in Kenya, we have that regime. We are a small quantities protocol country because we don't have a lot of nuclear materials, but as you will hear from my colleague, we are enhancing this one to include now the heavy industry of nuclear power, and to ensure these materials are correctly declared. On achieving optimum safety, a fundamental principle of nuclear power is that the operator assumes prime responsibility for safety. The national regulator is responsible for ensuring that the plants are operated safely by the operator or the license. That means a regulator is the oversight of an operator. The design is approved, and of course security systems are put in place to ensure radioactive materials, nuclear materials, including the waste, is secure from unauthorized access or unauthorized sabotage. The safety provisions may include so many things, I've said, like containment and so many other things, but most importantly, the safety systems must account for and include human error. This is a fundamental issue in safety systems where human error has accounted for accidents or incidents. So the safety system must account and include human error. In conclusion.
And that is the latest. In other news, we're following for you. National Super Alliance strategist David Ndii was yesterday released on a 10,000 shillings bond. Dr. Ndi's release came last evening after the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, ordered the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to release him on police bond. Dr. Ndii was interrogated at the DCI for close to 9 hours. He had been arrested in Diani, after which he was transported to Nairobi by road. During the interrogations, police officers barred NASA supporters and lawyers from accessing the DCI premises, although later some lawyers were allowed to speak to him. He was later released after a directive from the Public Prosecutions Director, Keriako Tobiko. Of course, NASA having since declared this arrest as unconstitutional. Last week, if you do recall, Dr. Ndii was selected to be part of a 7-member committee to guide NASA on the way forward for the People's Assembly. And after being arrested in Mombasa at a beach resort there, he was brought to Nairobi. He was taken to the Milimani Law Courts at 2:30 p.m. but was not charged. He was kept at the basement cells until 5:30 p.m. when he was taken again to the DCI. NASA leader Raila Odinga has since termed the arrest of David Ndii, the coalition strategist, as a wider scheme by the government to intimidate Kenyans fighting for electoral justice. That is the latest as of David Ndii's arrest yesterday. Remember, once again, he was selected to be part of a 7-member committee to guide NASA on the way forward for the People's Assembly. And he was released last evening after being arrested in Diani, where he was holidaying with his family. His wife, Mwende Gatabaki, since came out to say that the manner in which her husband was arrested was unconstitutional. She also said that the officers who arrested her husband directed her to the wrong place. They said they would be taking him to a police station in Diani. She proceeded to go there, but he was not there, and therefore she came out yesterday to speak against his arrest. He has since been released. Let's listen into a more comprehensive report.
A day after he was arrested in Diani, Kwale County, NASA chief strategist and economist Dr. David Ndii was driven to Nairobi overnight. On Monday morning, he was questioned for close to 5 hours at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations Department along Kiambu Road. At the CID headquarters, NASA lawyers led by Siaya Senator James Orengo were denied an opportunity to see him, leading to an exchange. They were, however, allowed to see Ndii.
It is a very strange action. First of all, you know that David Ndii and his wife were holidaying at the coast. And they apparently, the complaints they are talking about are issues that arose months ago. If they had any issue, one, ordinarily you would invite someone and tell them, you invite them to come and record a statement. That never happened.
Back to the coast, Ndii's wife Mwende Gatabaki, in a press conference accompanied by Mombasa Deputy Governor William Kingi, narrate their ordeal at the hands of the police on Sunday night.
And I asked the man who was in charge, I need to know who you are. I need to know who's taking my husband away. So he showed me his work ID, and I took his ID number, I took his service number. Then from there, they took him into the car, and he told me they're taking him to Diani police station. So within no time, we called a taxi and we followed them. They were in 2 cars. By the time we got a taxi, it was like 10 minutes later. We followed them to the Diani police station. But when we got there, we were actually surprised to know that they hadn't actually gone there. And I think they had no intentions of going there. So that gentleman who told me to go to the police station, he was actually lying to me, you know, like a child. And I'm very concerned about that, because we need to be more professional. You don't lie about these things.
Mr. David Ndii was picked up by police at Diani Leopard Beach Hotel. We as the NASA fraternity have no idea where he is, where his whereabouts are.
In Kisumu, NASA leader Raila Odinga accused the government of intimidation, urging his supporters to remain steadfast. Odinga also claiming that her daughter Winnie Odinga had also been arrested but released without any charges by police.
The will of the people of Kenya cannot be suppressed through arrests, through prosecutions, through blackmail, through intimidation, through tear gas, through bullets, through water cannons. The will of the people of Kenya shall ultimately prevail.
This release followed an order by the Director of Public Prosecution, Keriako Tobiko, while he was waiting to appear before a judge to answer to charges of incitement to violence. He is required to report back to the CID headquarters on the 11th of December, only a day before the alleged swearing in of Odinga by NASA's People's Assembly Convention. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And the term for commissioners at the SRC-led Salaries and Remuneration Commission is due to end today. The commission will hold a luncheon to mark the end of term after the completion of 6 years in office, which is non-renewable. The SRC will unveil a technical report detailing the achievements and challenges it has faced. Deputy President William Ruto is expected to be present at the occasion. Once again, SRC will today hold a luncheon to mark the end of term for the commissioners. Sarah Serem and her team will complete 6 years, and this is a non-renewable term. The commission will unveil a technical report detailing the last 6 years, the achievements and challenges of the SRC, and indeed Deputy President William Ruto expected to grace the occasion, which will take place at Crown Plaza. It was expected to start at about 10 a.m. and we understand that it's currently underway. We'll be crossing over to the Crown Plaza here in Nairobi County very shortly. Of course, you know, the Sarah Serem-led Salaries Remuneration Commission has been in office for the last 6 years, and they will now today be detailing their progress in the last 6 years, their challenges and indeed their achievements. Let's listen in.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I am truly privileged and happy today to welcome you to this end of term and the launch of Salaries and Remuneration Commission report of 2011-2017. The theme of the event is the 6-year journey in public service remuneration management. That's the story behind the 6 years of the celebration today. SRC, as you all know, is established under Article 230 of the Constitution, and the mandate is spelled out very clearly if you refer to that part of the Constitution. Your Excellency, when the first commissioners were appointed and sworn into office in January 2012, we had to start from scratch. We found ourselves having to literally clear the bushes. I can now look back and say the bushes were the foreboding that it required us to have steely hearts and strong determination. A new government was going to be elected into office in March 2013, and the new salary structure had to be in place with its policy guidelines. The public service, on the other hand, immediately placed high expectation on this new body of SRC, and this was expected to instantly, in almost a magic act, bring equity and fairness in remuneration. So it was in 5th January 2012, to be exact, that the SRC Commissioners came together and held its first meeting, just a few days prior to our swearing in. Though just a preliminary meeting, it was absolutely important that we met to set the tone for the challenge ahead. The 13th floor of NHIF building was our home. This idea was first to get to know each other. We were all strangers, although we had probably met others in different forums. And secondly, to understand that very object of our mandate. We needed to understand and unravel the expansive mandate that was handed to the men and women charged with the responsibility of bringing order and sanity in the public service remuneration system. There was absolutely no luxury of time. We had all come from different backgrounds and organizations, and we were going to work together for a term of 6 years. We thought 6 years was a long time. Looking back, I must say it has been a roller coaster of a journey that required single-mindedness of purpose, sacrifice, hard work, and indeed teamwork. There were times, and I'm sure even my colleagues went through this, when one would ask himself or herself if it was really worth going through what we faced. I am glad we stood together, and driven by a sense of duty, we soldiered on. I salute these commissioners that you have seen this morning for working as a team despite the many challenges that we went through. It actually bonded us together. We came in as strangers, we are living as great friends and resources of this nation. What we have achieved as a commission has been made possible by a critical role and support from a competent secretariat. We moved in, resourced a team, developed them, and this is the team that we have worked and walked together through the 6-journey time. This is a team of highly qualified professional staff who have beaten all odds to prepare well-researched and analyzed reports, because that was the angle under which we made our decisions. I therefore wish to thank this team for the good work, and I wish them every success in the years ahead of them. They have a great future for SRC, and I'm sure they will not disappoint the team that will be coming after us. Your Excellency, from the day SRC was established, we had a continuous stream of institutions coming in, wanting to know our precise role in their affairs. Our goal was to have them on board entirely by demonstrating to them that the system we were going to adopt was fair and extremely objective. It's understandable that the whole approach of remuneration management system was a change process that was bound to face some resistance, and resistance, we faced it. This situation is still a challenge, I must confess, that requires persistence, it requires support, it requires a focused approach. In order to equip ourselves with the requisite information, we visited several countries. The first one being South Africa, which has a well-developed remuneration and benefit system. Others, but not limited to these, were Malaysia, USA, Canada, India, Ghana, Finland, among the many others that we sourced for information. These countries have an advanced human resource management policy framework, which was instrumental in helping us develop our job evaluation plan and the strategies that we adopted. Your Excellency, we had interesting moments. Indeed, we had both challenges and exciting moments. You will all recall that the new members of Parliament in 2013 came into office with a sense of entitlement, as of course they were used to setting their own salaries as they deemed fit. I can assure you we are forever grateful to God for giving wisdom to the framers of the Constitution, who not only saw the need for a body called SRC to be established, but also gave it its protection, because we were meant to have been disbanded month 1 of our operation. The Commission, despite all these challenges, have achieved a lot over the last 6 years, which is attributed to the goodwill of all our key stakeholders and teamwork within the SRC family. Some of the achievement, and we all know, is the development of remuneration and benefits policy, a document that we are leaving behind. This is aimed to ensure that all public sector employees are fairly, equitably, and transparently compensated. We are hoping going forward that this will be given a legal framework for purpose of sustainability. The broad objectives of the policy is to promote a wage bill that is fiscally affordable and sustainable and aligned to the tenets of national development. The second one was wage bill sustainability. To address the question of unsustainable wage bill, SRC adopted several strategies. One of it was the temporary freeze on wage review. When we came in, the first instant thing that public sector expected was a wage increase. But we had to suspend that because we realized we were not going to start on a note of even making the situation worse. So we had a temporary freeze, and you all know we had to wait for a whole 4 years to do a review. We established and adopted a 4-year review cycle. That did not only help in the management of wage bill, but it also brought stability, because there used to be negotiations and aspect of collective bargaining agreement continuously throughout the years. So the 4 years bringing stability in the whole process. We undertook a job evaluation for the entire public service. That was a mammoth exercise. The development of remuneration and benefits policy and review and the harmonization of allowances. These are but just a few of the key highlights of achievements that we attained as SRC. Through these strategies, the wage bill has marginally reduced as a factor of revenue, despite the establishment of the many offices after devolution. If you were to look back, and we had a reflection for a moment to see how wage bill would have looked up like without SRC. If every of the entity established was given the mandate to develop its own remuneration, believe me, we would not be having a nation to reflect on this day. In order to attain the acceptable wage bill ratios and meet the development agendas, we still have a lot to do. Part of the lot that needs to be done is looking at the aspect of the numbers. We struggled a lot with the values. We brought in harmony, but I think the undoing was the numbers within the public sector, which requires a close, focused approach. The government institutions need to take a holistic approach to issues that have direct impact on wage bill, and especially address the two variables, which is both the value and the numbers. Whereas SRC strategies have majorly centered on the values as per the mandate, the same has created the desired impact, given that the number of employees has not ceased to increase. So that needs a serious focus. That is the job evaluation that we undertook. The Commission boldly carried out job evaluation exercise for the entire public sector. The exercise, which was launched by His Excellency the President on 5th June 2015, was concluded in the first half of the year 2017, just in good time before we exit the Commission. It was a historic assignment whose fruits will be felt in years to come. We are confident that the results of the exercise will eventually provide a rational basis for equitable remuneration and create harmony in the relationship between employee and employer. The achievements are many and are well captured in the SRC report, which Your Excellency will be launching here this morning. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, our journey would have been incomplete without our support stakeholders. And I start with the media. The media has been one of our greatest bulwark in terms of defending our mandate and disseminating the information of SRC. They have literally walked with us throughout our entire journey of 6 years, and I salute you, our media team. Equally, we appreciate the various unions and the umbrella bodies for the various engagements. They were interesting engagements with the unions. They gave us a run for our money. But you know what? Finally, we all had to establish our space, and we all played our roles very effectively because it was necessary to establish that system within this nation. I also wish to pay tribute to Kenyans for believing in this commission and standing out to defend it when under threat. We have literally battled one case after another in courts. We probably have the highest number of cases in court than any other body sitting here today. But that too refreshed our memories, and we are able to stand up against any threat even as we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, all these achievements have not been without challenges. Clamor for higher pay without commensurate productivity, persistent threat of industrial unrest, proliferation of allowances and inadequate compliance is some of the challenges that we need to face. As a commission, we are acknowledging the support that was given to us by the executive team, because we stood up and said, besides God and the people of Kenya and the executive, we had ourselves to run the course of SRC. We have one other team that truly supported us, and that is the consultants, and I see a number of them seated here today. I want to thank them for the patience they had with us. They had a relationship which we called a marriage, and one of them was telling me this morning that you didn't prepare us for the divorce. We know we got married, but you seem to be exiting without preparing us. We want to say thank you very much for all these times we have shared together. It's, however, worth noting that the wage bill has still increased for the very same reasons I mentioned, that whereas there was stability in terms of the values, we have had numbers because of the various establishments that had to be undertaken because of the devolution. It's increased from Kenya shillings 465 billion in 2012-2013 to 627 billion in the 2015-2016. And it's expected to rise to approximately 650 billion by the end of 2017-2018 financial year. That's an average of about 11% annually, despite the fact that the revenues have not grown on the same ratios. So that's a matter to worry. That's a concern that each one of us as leaders in this nation need to be concerned about. Our medium-term target is below 7% of the GDP. So at 9%, 10, it's still very high. That is a benchmark prevailing in most developing middle-income countries. As I conclude, Your Excellency, because our story as SRC is long, I would want to limit it. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to salute the national government led by His Excellency the President, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, and you, the Deputy President, for giving me the opportunity to lead this wonderful commission and believing in us as a team to deliver the mandate. We did what we were able to do. We may not have achieved 100% of what we purposed to do, but we did our best. I want to believe the team coming in will be able to get this commission to the next level. Equally, we thank the National Assembly and the Senate for the enabling legislative environment. The county governments have been the bedrock in the implementation of our mandate. On the same breath, we thank the judiciary for the interpretation of our mandate, and not to forget the constitutional commissions and independent offices for the collective responsibility, especially in responding to the calling under Article 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, of protecting the sovereignty of the people and promoting constitutionalism. I know, as commissioner, and we have sat with them in several forums as a body, I know there are days that you feel like giving up, but you shouldn't. There are days when you feel you don't have what it takes, but believe me, you do. There are days when everything seems to be falling apart, and we have watched that even through the media and the recent cases, but they will not fall apart. For the sake of this nation, and I beseech each of us as leadership, we must press on, for things will work out well someday if we press on. For there will be days when you will look back and say, I am glad I never gave up. I think that's what we are saying today as commissioners of SRC, that we are glad we never gave up. So I want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity. To the people of Kenya, you gave unto yourselves the Constitution in order to protect your sovereignty. Resources must be channeled towards sustainable development. And to achieve this, all players must act in accordance with the Constitution and the rule of law. Let's respect and support our institutions. Let us be a cultured and disciplined society. We owe this to our children. We owe it to our future generations. Once again, I sincerely thank you, Your Excellency, for finding time out to be with us today, out of the very, very busy schedule that I know we all know that you have. We are honored by your presence. To all our guests, a big thank you, and may the Lord bless you. Thank you. It's my pleasure at this point in time to invite the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs, to make her remarks and proceed from there. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Honorable William Ruto, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, my colleagues, Henry Rotich, Phyllis Kandie, the Chair, SRC, and the Commissioners, as well as management, Chairpersons of Independent Commissions. I also recognize Your Excellency Governor Nanok, Council of Governors Chair as well, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning. It sounds like to you, the Chair and the Commission, we are glad you didn't give up. A clap for Sarah and the Sarah team. Indeed, as you spoke here from the depth of your heart, one sits here representing ordinary Kenyans to just appreciate the 6 years of hard work, and therefore joining you today also as we celebrate this journey, a journey that has been marked by bold decisions, a journey that has been marked by decisions that were not always palatable to ordinary people, but decisions that this country and this economy required. I can only appreciate and salute you and the team that you led. I'm reminded of a gentleman who comes from close to your village, the Chair. And when things were really very bad and everybody thought we should disband this thing, you know, it's becoming too much, this Lady Sarah is too much, she should, sat with me, concerned, and said, talk to your sister. Talk to your sister. mwambie hii dunia hawezi beba venye anataka kubeba. Aache hii kazi venye afanya kisirani. He since departed, may God rest his soul. And of course, if I conveyed a message like that to Sarah Serem, she was never going to stop. So it's as well I don't convey that message. So it was worth every moment for the Kenyans who watched and followed you as you did what you did as a commission. Your Excellency, today for the SRC marks a 6-year journey epitomized by bold steps and decisions by the Commission as they attempted to ensure our public service salaries are truly harmonized in the context of fairness. They may not have achieved 100%, but they have well moved into the space of an A student. Let me therefore, at this very early opportunity, congratulate all of you, the commissioners, under the leadership of Sarah, for not shying away, but for believing in yourself, for burning the midnight oil, for believing that indeed Kenyans who give themselves the constitution that you refer to here were indeed in the right place in getting you a chance to serve them. Today, we celebrate the various and significant milestones that have marked your 6-year journey and for which you have so eloquently reminded us. The steps you've taken have been important towards determining the true worth of public sector jobs and in ensuring remuneration is equitable and fair. Your Excellency, the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs and SRC have in the last few years, through joint effort and collaboration, encouraged the public service to shift its focus away from pay to productivity. This is in recognition that the public sector productivity is critical for broader economic outcomes. Productivity and its improvement are both a political imperative, but an economic necessity that we as a country must deal with. It is the point where the focus of national growth and the living standards of our citizens and global competitiveness converge. The public service is keen to create jobs, which Your Excellency and the President have actually committed to creating upwards of 6 million jobs for the second time that you are going to be in office. And indeed, for us to be able to generate these jobs, the public service must align itself with this aspiration and to support that which you have promised Kenyans. However, productivity in the public service in Kenya is low compared to other countries, yet we know that any increase in productivity would translate to extra billions in GDP to this country every year. This would enable this country to invest in matters that matter, including better infrastructure, better education, better health facilities, improved living standards, and the list goes on and on and on. The choice in focus is clear. Your Excellency, it is therefore apt that as we thank the team that is exiting after the first term here today, that as government, we have continued commitment on the focus on this important subject of productivity, but also performance. This will require unleashing the productive potential of our workforce. It will also require policies that attract and retain talent of skilled public sector workforce, and which also will incentivize improvements in productivity and positive service delivery outcomes. This is true for us as the national government as it is true for the county governments. As this government or this administration marks the beginning of its second term, productivity is therefore a touchstone for us as we seek to deliver on promises made of a more efficient, a more effective, and delivery of service that impact the ordinary citizens. The foundations built by SRC in its first term, if continued, and I believe will be continued by the next commissioners to be appointed, will ensure that in the medium to long term, the public service is harmonized and designed to deliver on this. I wish the chairperson and the commissioners all the best in their future endeavors. And in concluding, allow me to also thank you, Your Excellency, for finding time to also join us this morning. It is my hope, and I look forward, Your Excellency, as a champion of gender matters as well, that I'll have a chance to also have the great lady being replaced by a great lady. That is not to lobby, but just to express myself, because I think whereas it is known that ladies have to work twice as hard to have the recognition, under her leadership, this has delivered. This has delivered. With those remarks, it is now my pleasure and joy to invite my colleague, C.S. Rotich, to make some remarks and carry on with the program.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President, my colleagues present here today, the Chair of the Council of Governors, Governor Nanok, and all invited guests. Good morning. I came with a speech, but I'm not going to read it, because my task was simple, was just to invite the Deputy President to make the remarks. But before I do that, I think I should call upon Governor Nanok to say something, and then I'll just add 1 or 2 points before I invite the Deputy President. Governor Nanok, please.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Honorable William Samuel Ruto, Cabinet Secretary is present, the Chair of SRC and the Commissioners, the outgoing Commissioners, heads of independent commissions and bodies, all protocols observed. I thank the Chair of SRC for inviting me to be here. When she called me last evening and told me you should be here when I'm leaving. So I appreciated that recognition, that indeed personally, but also the 47 county governments played a very key role to the job that SRC has been doing and continues to do. So I'm basically here to appreciate and to thank the Commission, SRC, the ones who are outgoing, together also with their Secretariat staff, who have labored a lot to work towards ensuring that the public service remuneration is aligned to the national government policies, but also to guide us in the counties to ensure, but also to guide the county governments to ensure that there is order during that short period of transition. Indeed, had it not been the work SRC, the firmness that Sarah Serem and her team took, together with the rest of the constitutional commissions, indeed there would have been a lot of chaotic implementation of devolution across the counties. To fight the politics of remunerations, to fight the various interest groups that wanted to derail the allocation of resources for development, I owe it on to Sarah Serem for pushing us. Particularly when we had a very, very hectic period. We were on election period, but at the same time we had industrial action ongoing with the nurses and the doctors and clinical officers strike. But I'm glad that you stood firm with us and we work towards the end of that industrial action. And I'm very thankful also that yesterday you did guide us and gave us the okay to continue with the CBA for nurses, which I believe that the next process for that CBA will now be to register it in the courts. And I'm glad for that effort that you've done. Indeed, I know there's a lot to be done, as has been highlighted by the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, but also by the Chair of SRC. There is still a lot of work for us to do jointly to make sure that we have a more lean and efficient public service. Particularly for county governments, we still need a lot of guidance, capacity building to the various human resource personnel who handle issues of human resource and remunerations. And also to the county service boards, where a lot of capacity needs to be put in so that we can begin much earlier, particularly this time we are entering in, to ensure that we have improved the way we do things, and we have made sure that we have a civil service that is in tune to providing service delivery. So we will be committed to this journey with the national government in implementing this, and we will be committed in all other issues that will help us bring down the high cost high cost we are spending on human resource, so that more resources can be allocated to development. Thank you once again. I do hope Your Excellency the Deputy President, the team that is outgoing is still young and very full of capacities. I do hope that we will be able to utilize them in many other areas that brings in people who are firm in the job to be able to make the Kenyan civil service the best you can have in the region. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Governor Nanok. So let me also